Dmitry Medvedev and Vladimir Putin are both natives of this city, St. Petersburg, and moreover they attended the same law school, even though more than a decade apart from each other, but they did have some mutual friends and colleagues, and among them was Anatoly Sobchak, a prominent lawyer who in 1990 became the first democratically elected mayor of the city. And when that happened, he invited both Putin and Medvedev to work with him in St. Petersburg administration, and this is how these two men met. And you know, many of Putin's close associates have a security background. Dmitry Medvedev lacks that, but despite this fact, the two men managed to develop a quite close friendship. They remained friends for more than 17 years now, working hand in glove. When Putin was surprisingly for many nominated prime minister in late 1999, the first thing he did was inviting Medvedev to work with him in Moscow, and the two men continued working together ever since. You know, for many of Dmitry Medvedev friends and colleagues, his endorsement as a presidential hopeful became a surprise. We spoke to some of them yesterday. We visited a high school where he studied, also the faculty of law at St. Petersburg State University, and here's what we found. They may be studying hard to be future lawyers, but the news that their former professor has been endorsed as a presidential candidate made them forget about books for a while. In a law school where Dmitry Medvedev spent a decade teaching civil law, the jury is out on what makes a good president.
Persistence and political will. A president has to know how to get things his way.
Their teacher, Marina Lavrikova, has her own view. Back in the 80s, she and Medvedev studied law together. Even then, he was not afraid to get his hands dirty, quite literally.
I remember we had to go to a collective farm to help them with the harvest, and we all had water up to our knees digging potatoes with our pitchforks. Dima was with us, working as hard as anybody else.
Dmitry Medvedev spent more than 15 years within these corridors, first as a student, then later as a lecturer. He only left in 1999 when his longtime friend Vladimir Putin, then Prime Minister, offered him a job in Moscow. And when fellow Putin, also a former student at the school, endorsed Medvedev as his preferred presidential candidate, it was just the first surprise. This law school in St. Petersburg has many prominent alumni, but President Putin and potential President Medvedev are the most high-ranking. Here on the school honor board they are shown with Putin at the top and Medvedev a bit below him, but after the March elections the faculty may have to swap the pictures. On Tuesday, Medvedev said that if he is elected for the country's highest post, he'll offer Putin the prime minister's job. And while some critics accuse Putin of clinging on to power, the dean of their law school says such an outcome would be within the Russian law.
As for the legality of such proposal, it's perfectly within the law. A former president can become a prime minister. If such a ban existed, it would have been a violation of persons' rights.
While some analysts describe Medvedev as diminutive and baby-faced, female internet blog users think differently. "I like his eyes," this girl wrote. "They are heart-piercing, so big and sad." Well, we don't want to disappoint anyone, but he's already taken. Medvedev is married to his high school sweetheart Svetlana. Their math teacher Irina Grigorovska recalls how their romance began.
Dima started showing signs of affection when they were in early teens, but it was in the last grades that their romance blossomed for all the school to see. But it was all very pure. There were passionate glances, it was a romantic relationship.
Most of Medvedev's friends describe him as soft-spoken and well-mannered, and while some political experts say this may make him a weak president, his former math teacher disagrees.
Soft doesn't mean weak. He has always had some sort of inner strength. He was never manipulated.
People who know Medvedev personally say he's been very good at keeping in touch with his past, and most of them have no qualms in trusting him with their future. Well, the presidential race is already in full swing, and according to the head of the Central Election Commission, about 20 people have already announced their intention to run for Russia's highest post. Because we have about a week left until the first registration deadline, this number may actually increase even further. Among the people who have already stated their intention are some very familiar faces, like, for example, Gennady Zyuganov, the leader of Communists, or Vladimir Zhirinovsky, the leader of Liberal Democrats. These are the people who have taken part in almost every presidential election held over the past few decades. Running for the first time are two opposition leaders, former chess champion Garry Kasparov and former Prime Minister Mikhail Kasyanov. A person doesn't have to be a member of political party in order to be nominated, and we have already have some dark horses in this presidential race, people who are virtually unknown.